I've set the simulation to active pause mode so we can discuss some ground attack basics before we begin to practice. If you're having trouble hearing my instruction over the engine noise, turn down the world and in-cockpit sound sliders in the options menu. This lesson is best played with labels and unlimited ammo on. If these options aren't already set, you may want to set them in your options menu. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin. Although the P-51 was designed primarily as a fighter, it is quite effective as a light ground attack aircraft armed with two 500-pound bombs or up to 10 unguided rockets, in addition to 650 caliber machine guns. Like most other fighters of the era, however, it is not equipped with a bomb sight. This means accurate weapons delivery depends somewhat on technique, but mostly on pilot skill and experience. In this lesson, we are carrying a mixed payload of 2 bombs, 6 rockets, and fully loaded machine guns. This makes the aircraft very heavy, and care must be taken not to pull the stick too fast and damage the airframe or throw us out of control. Press the spacebar key to proceed. We'll now begin with the bombs. The most important factor in bombing accuracy is a steep dive angle toward the target. In general, the steeper the dive, the more accurate the attack. For best results, you want to dive at angles of 45 degrees or greater. Although effective, dive bombing can also be very dangerous. The aircraft accelerates rapidly toward its maximum speed, and this can lead to a loss of control if not cared for. When pulling out of a high-speed dive, the pilot and aircraft are subject to significant G-forces, and there is always a risk of either blacking out in the cockpit or breaking the airframe. Press the spacebar key to proceed. The other important factor in bombing accuracy is distance to the target. The closer you get before releasing the bombs, the less time they have to fly off target. Again, however, there are dangers to keep in mind. Getting close to your target means getting close to potential return fire, and if the enemy doesn't get you, the ground will. So it's critical to pull out of a dive with enough altitude to spare. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Getting consistent results with dive bombing requires practice, lots of practice. It's also a good idea to develop an attack profile, where you can use the same starting altitude, dive angle, and release range every time. Doing so will help you establish an aiming reference point, like a gun sight mark or a cockpit feature, that you can use for every attack. In this mission, you are starting out at 8,000 feet above the target. This should give you a few seconds to stabilize and aim in the dive, then pull out of the attack at no less than 2,000 feet. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Employing rockets is similar to bombs, except the dive angles can be somewhat reduced. Not by much, however, because the HVAR rockets are quite heavy, but have a short burn time. This means their fall trajectory is quite steep, making them difficult to aim reliably at ranges beyond 1 nautical mile. In this lesson, you can use the target labels to get accurate range data. Use this to learn what different target types look like at 1 nautical mile, so you can estimate this range visually without labels in the future. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Machine guns are the easiest to employ against ground targets. All you have to do is aim using the crosshairs of the fixed reticle sight and fire within range, which can be anywhere under a mile, depending on the size of the target. Machine guns are quite accurate, but also weak, so well-aimed fire at close range is required in order to be effective. Press the spacebar key to proceed. The last thing to keep in mind is side slip. It's critical to neutralize any side slip in the attack run by checking the slip bar indicator and either trimming or using the rudder to keep it centered. If any side slip is present, the nose will be pointed in one direction, but your flight path, and as a result the flight path of your weapons, will be in a different direction. An aiming error of just a few degrees can produce a miss by hundreds of yards by the time your weapons hit the ground. To ease directional control during attack dives, you may want to trim the aircraft with slight left rudder for high-speed, low RPM flight, which will be your profile when attacking with bombs and rockets. Press the space bar key to proceed. Before I set you off, let's prepare the weapon system for bomb employment for our first attack. Switch the gun sight to show the fixed reticle. Select bombs trained on the front switch panel. In this mode, one bomb will come off the wings with each press of the bomb rocket release trigger switch. You can also set bombs to both, in which case the left and right bombs will come off simultaneously. Finally, set the bomb arming switches down to the arm position to arm the bombs. You should see the target array at your 11 o'clock with 4 red target labels. A variety of typical targets are prepared on the array, including personnel barracks, oil tanks, train wagons, and transport trucks. You are free to choose your targets. Press the spacebar key to unpause the simulation and take control of the aircraft. Here we go. Try to keep the target range just off your nose. This will allow you to maintain visual contact with the target area and make it easier to time the start of your dive. Also, keep an eye on your altitude. You are now about 6 miles from the target. With a diving angle of at least 60 degrees, a good aiming point to start with is somewhere between the bottom dash mark of the fixed reticle and the bottom of the gun sight glass. You are now about 4 miles out from the target area. Take the power down and pull up slightly to bleed off some airspeed. You want to start the dive as slowly as possible to give you time to aim and also avoid overspeeding the aircraft. Take a note of your altitude before you begin the dive. Remember to control side slip before releasing weapons. Whenever you're ready, roll her over and point the nose on target. Press the bomb rocket release switch or right Alt plus space to release the bombs. Bombs away. You can continue practice dive bombing if you wish. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to switch to rockets. Stabilize in level flight so we can set up the weapon system for rocket employment. I've set the simulation to active pause mode again so we can take a minute to set up. Select rockets on the front switch panel. Set the release mode to single. This will fire a single rocket with each press of the bomb rocket release switch. If set to auto, rockets will come off the wings in quick succession as long as the trigger switch is held down. Also note the rocket fuse switch, which can be set to instantaneous or delayed detonation. Finally, note the rocket counter window and turning knob. This tells you the number of the next rocket to be fired. If using unlimited weapons or rearming, this needs to be reset to 1 after all rockets have been fired. Looks like we're good to go. Press the spacebar key to unpause the simulation and take control of the aircraft. Rocket employment is similar to bombs, but you can use shallower dive angles and need to launch closer to the target. For best results, you want to be within 1 nautical mile. At this range, you can again use the bottom dash range mark of the fixed reticle as an aiming point. Whenever you're ready, line up on the next target and press the bomb rocket release switch repeatedly to fire off 1 rocket at a time. You can continue to practice with rocket employment if you wish. Press the spacebar key whenever you're ready to move on to guns. Next, we'll practice doing some strafing runs using the 50 cals. Aiming the guns is fairly easy. Simply aim using the fixed reticle crosshairs. As before, try to minimize any side slip in the attack for best accuracy. Because guns are so personal, it's easy to target fixate and shoot yourself right into the ground. Be careful not to get too low and too close. This concludes the instructions for the ground attack lesson. You can continue to practice with bombs, rockets, and guns on your own. Good hunting!